everyone. Well, welcome. I'm Darlene Turner. I've been the coordinator of the Eagles Gathering, and I've been really excited about Claire Dupuy's work. She is one of our facilitators when I do organize the Eagles Gathering, and we've had such amazing results and shifts in our life and just insights into so many different things that we have play out. So I wanted to organize a couple events in the shoe swap to help just facilitate her a little bit and bring in the people that resonate that want to come. And that means that what is this all about? So I wanted to create a Zoom call so we kind of can explain a little bit of what it's about. One of the things that I want to share from my own experience is just like when we change and see our awareness of how we're showing up in relationships and in life, then that can shift everything. And I think one of the things that family constellations, and Claire calls it healthy dynamics, because it's expanded into more of a limitless perception of how it could. So that being said, it just changes everything when we can work on this energetic level and bring it into the physical world. So Claire Dupuy is a shaman. She has body talk. She works with matrix energetics and many other courses and modalities that makes Claire Dupuy who she is. Beyond all that, she's amazing and we love her. So one of the things that I wanted to bring in about this is her website, and if you want to look and read more, you're welcome to. It's at healthydynamics.ca. But one of the things I wanted to bring in about it is her mission is to nurture everyone's sense of safety for natural emotional expressions. And her vision is a safe world to express and be ourselves without judgment or negative consequences. And her values are holding space for evolution, inspiring you to be vulnerable, and help you embrace change. So I love all of these things. That's why I'm so passionate about Claire. So here she is. Then maybe you can share a little bit about yourself beyond all this.
Yeah, a lot of, I guess, my work has been my own personal journey in getting to where I am. I was really stuck, I think, and I didn't even realize what I was stuck in. And so I experienced, all sorts of different healing modalities to get myself to where I'm at, and started allowing myself to be who I am. And that's been a journey kind of in itself. And a lot of the modalities have been on an energetic level and an emotional level. But the biggest thing is to really allow ourselves to be vulnerable, because we're so protective, and I believe that we're really scared to look at our true selves, right? Like to allow ourselves to really look at our demons, I guess, as, they are like our fears of what's, how we exist. And, I think we have a fear of judgment, and, and a lot of our family stuff, I think we tend to blame, I know I blamed for a long time, like, my father and this, and it was a lot through teachings and, through what I grew up in. And as I did my own work with it, I realized that I can actually look at it from like outside of myself, right? And just kind of look at, oh, well, these were actually just teachings. And so I can let go of some of those things, but I had to have an awareness of what I was taught, and I think that we all on some level are stuck in our stuff with that. We're projecting, our anger and our fears and our sadness and that kind of stuff. And then we just don't know how to get back to ourselves. And so a lot of this work is really, like Darlene was saying, is like kind of lets you, the constellation aspect of it really lets you take a third party, kind of like you sit outside of what is maybe going on, whether we're doing it with family or whether we're doing it, with body parts or illnesses or work, or we can do it with a variety of different things. And so when you look at it, you just have a bigger picture view of what is happening in your life. And so that's kind of what we do with it. We look at the family dynamics, like if there's anything, like relationship wise, with parents or with spouses or with kids or, whatever. And you kind of have an aha moment, when you're sitting in that, outside of that, space, and you're going, oh, wow, I never knew, this person felt that way. And so even when you're a participant, because we have like, when we're doing it in a big group, and there's like a circle. And so when you're sitting being a participant, then you're not necessarily, say, actually in the constellation, maybe you're not chosen to represent somebody. We're all connected with that because we all have parents and siblings and, illnesses and issues and all that kind of stuff. And so our energies are all connected. And so we're all affected, by that. So, even when you're just present, I was kind of thinking about, how do I describe this to people? How you can be affected when you're just in a group. And the easiest way to explain it is, everybody's kind of felt when they're happy, or when they're in a good place, or they're loving and kind. And so when you show up that way and you bring that like into, say, a room, you're going, to a party, or you're going to just spend time with the friends. If you're vibrating at that, really happy, lovey, just emanating some good vibes, you'll notice that the people around you feel really good. And opposite to that, same thing. If you're sad or angry or scared, and you're vibrating at that level, it affects the people outside of you. And that's kind of how the group works. You're connected, even though you're not, your vibration that's going on inside the constellation, if you're in the room with that, you are going to be affected by the constellation itself.
I got to say that at the Eagles gathering that we did when we played out one, I think it touched all of our lives, because there was the energy of alcohol brought into it, and we all tend to blame a habit or addiction on that. And that being said, we have a testimonial of somebody that played out for us, and would love to bring her on just while we're in this place here of talking about how it affected her life, as well as that ripple out of our lives. So we have Yana with us, if Michael can bring her on. And she's going to help just explain the shift that happened. Hi, Yana.
Hi, Darla. Hi, Claire.
So we wanted to bring you on just to help people maybe understand a little bit of how it could shift their life, or how it, when we kind of do this work on ourselves, it affects and ripples out to the whole dynamics of the system of our relationships and family. And I know you had a major shift in your life and family. So I wondered if you could share a little bit, and thank you for being vulnerable and personal within this safe container to share.
Yes, well, the experience I had with Claire was quite profound, because I came in there with a family problem, and by the role play, which didn't have talking in it, it was amazing how everything just magically cleared itself, the way Claire just sort of pointed to people to move and go here, go there. And that person had already made changes, so that when I came back 5 days later, this person had completely shifted. It was like a miracle. It was like magic. I couldn't believe it. And it was like my eyes were wide as could be when the person told me that the things that had changed. And so, yeah, I have absolute proof that it can really shift. It's like whatever work we did as a group, it was so intensive. And yes, it did get emotional at times, but it seemed to ripple effect, just like you said, Darlene. It ripple affected to the heart of the family, to the person that needed the shift. And it magically occurred by the time I saw that person. So thank you very much, Claire and group.
Thank you for
Yeah,
your
and we
share,
really
Yana.
never know what's going to happen, right? Like, I mean, I've done, work on my own family, and, there wasn't the shifts in the relationship, that I had done the work on, but it just ended up being that I had more peace with what had happened in the family or what was going on in the family. And so, yeah, it can definitely change it. We never know what's going to happen. It's energetic, right? So we throw it out there, and there can be life altering changes like Jana's had. And yeah, it was big. It was great.
It was really big. And the thing is, I didn't even have to say anything. I came home, I looked, I went, wow, things are different. I saw and I experienced and I communicated with the person, and it had already happened. It's like whatever needed to happen had happened on its own. So I can't explain it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's an experience, right? To actually, I don't know if you can explain, Jana, a little bit, more for yourself, because in the constellation, Jana was outside of her story, right? She was outside of the container observing her story. Can you explain a little bit about that for everybody, Jana, like how that was for you, like, what you were seeing as we were moving things and, changing locations of people within the constellation, and sometimes people will feel it physically in their body, or they'll have an emotion outside of it because you're literally like observing your family.
Yes. So I got to choose who played me, and that person didn't know they were playing me. I got to choose who played the other members of my family and the extended family. And so all of these people, strangely enough, even though they didn't know who they were, somehow intuitively seemed to pick up on the energy of whatever person I had mentally assigned them to be. And they knew what to do and how to act and how to feel. And that was the amazing thing. Like, words did not even pass at times until they felt, I didn't say anything to them. They just participated as they felt they were moved to do so. So it was quite a magical experience.
Yeah,
I know I was there too, and there was generations brought in. So, even though we're talking about the family unit happening right now, this is shifting generations back and generations forward.
Yes. Yes, we brought in one character from a past generation who had a huge influence on the present situation. And I think we even shifted timelines, and I think we healed timelines. Um, I've heard about it, read about it, but I think I saw the evidence of it. Well, in the present timeline for sure, I saw evidence of it, but I'm imagining it that if all time is one, then it would have shifted the past, the healing that needed to be done there as well.
and that's where we get blocked, right? Because we have such a blockage of like the unknown. We're like, well, how can there be no, time, space, reality? It's just like, because we're so in our heads that there is just this time, just right now, and that we're only affecting right now. And that's really just our limitations as humans that we put on ourselves, that, when you get out of the box, as I say, and let things, what if, things could be different. A lot of things can change.
Yeah.
Yana, one quick question just before I know you got to go today. So I just wanted to ask you, did you feel supported with Claire and safe in the environment that was created to be vulnerable, to share in a vulnerable space that you needed to do so that the healing work could happen for you and your family?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes. I met privately with Claire before the work began with the group, and she asked me lots of questions. She clarified things. She wrote down the people that would be involved in the family constellation. She had a notepad going the whole time, and she seemed to be making notes. And then, so then when we joined the group into this large area and space, then she was able to whisper in my ear and tell me what to do, and I would just point at someone. So she was at my side the whole time, supporting me emotionally and guiding not only the group, but me to do whatever I needed to do, which was very little. It was basically pointing and watching. But yes, Claire was the orchestrator, the conductor, the motivator, the engineer of the whole work.
Well, it's so beautiful to have somebody. It's, you know, this work is very vulnerable, and we can't do it unless somebody's willing to show up. That's what I say. And so thank you, Yana, for doing that, because it was a very, very vulnerable and open time, and we can't do the work if somebody's not willing to go there and to really be truthful with themselves and to really want to look at it and see a change. And so thank you for showing up.
It was my pleasure. And it was lovely to see both of you again. And I do have to leave now, so I will say bye-bye.
Hi, Hannah. Well, that's really good feedback for us, you know, to really know somebody that firsthand had gone through that experience. And she really had no idea what constellation type work really was all about. So it's perfect to know that that level of trust that they can have within you to hold that container, and for the ones to play those parts for her as well. It's not always easy to witness ourselves from the outside of how we're showing up, because it really does show us our stuff. And I've had one done, and I know.
It's like walking into a room naked, right? Like that's really what it feels like sometimes. And I think some of the feedback, you know, we always debrief after, you know, and I'm always available after constellations because it can bring up a lot of stuff for people, even the people that aren't, like I said, chosen to be in into the actual center space, right? And it's not because you're not good enough, it's just because we're energetic. And so when you're chosen to hold space for that role, it's because you might be the person that you're chosen, or the thing that you're chosen to be, right? Sometimes, I mean, I've done body parts where we've done organs and somebody's been like a liver or, you know, like an arm or something, a shoulder, an old injury. So when you're chosen to be that, it's because somewhere in your world that is resonating with that person or that thing. And so the emotion being held, the energy that's being held in that body part or that family member or whatever, is just because somewhere you're experiencing that in your own world. And so one of the other constellations that we've done, even in Yana's, but also in another person's, you know, that we've done, the comments after were just like, I felt like it was like my own family, or I felt like it was me in there. And they weren't chosen to participate. They're just holding space on the outside of the circle. But they will say, like, this is going on in my life, and this was exactly like it. And I felt, you know, sad when this happened, or they'll go through it. And that's why we're affected, is because that vibration, that energy in the room. I always say to Darlene whenever we do these, is that it's like, oh, well, so-and-so didn't show up, or, you know, this person isn't coming. And it's just like, it's because they might not be ready to be there, because the people that are in a constellation are there. The people that are participating in a constellation are there because they are ready to have something shift for them. And so the people that show up are the people that are supposed to be there for that change, you know. So maybe that person, you know, who wasn't there at the constellation or dropped out last minute or whatever, was just because, you know, they weren't ready to deal with that issue that was going to be presented that day. And that's okay. Right? It's, you know, we all have our journey, and we all do it in the time that we're supposed to do it in. This is very profound work. I've done it with illnesses where somebody's done an illness. I had a friend who had, you know, some very serious bowel things, and she just sat on the sideline. She said she could feel her whole stomach and all of her organs literally moving every time we moved a person within the constellation. And, you know, it's an experience. It's just an experience. I don't know
It's
what to
hard to
say sometimes.
explain.
It's very hard to explain sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I have a couple of things that just kind of maybe will help have a little insight. So, like you said, there is a chosen constellation to play out. And I can use one that we did at the Eagles, which was amazing. It was emotions, and somebody was joy, and somebody was sadness, and somebody was worry, and all these different emotions. And it was crazy. Nobody knew who they were. We did a blind one, and how joy was like, I'm so heavy, I'm on the floor, and just hardly could stand up. Whereas worry was like, I'm a mountain. I feel so strong, and I'm so connected to this person over here, which was, anger or whatever it was at that time. So, um, witnessing all of actually what, because we do have sort of a front we put on, and not really knowing that, yeah, I'm happy. Can't you see how happy I am? But really inside, might not be that happy, and we're wrapped in worry. And so when we can see it actually playing out, it's like, wow, like that one just blew me away, I tell you. And the other thing I wanted to add is, if you are asked to assign to be an energy or represent something, you can say no. You don't have to do it. If you feel like, Clary, like you said, you're not ready, or you just want to sit by, that's totally fine. Somebody else will be assigned that. And then it plays out in whatever way as the energies need to play out. And as we do this work on the inner, the ourselves, and shift our awareness and perception, then it shifts on the macro through the ripple of consciousness, because like you said, we're all connected. So
Yeah, I think it makes me think of the one we did one time, and as the people were being chosen, and I love doing them blind, because I think we get into our own stories a lot of the time. So I do probably 90% of the work blind, which means you just don't know what you're going to represent. You could be like you could be a frog, you could be like a body part, you could be a distant cousin, right? Like, you just don't know. And I just find them so fun because I like to have fun. And it just keeps us out of our stories, I think. And I remember doing this one, and throughout the whole constellation, and this person said, finally, when we debriefed at the end, he found out he was the heart. And he said, I was tearing up, I was crying, like I had no idea what was going on. And this is way before he was chosen, to represent. And so he was already connected to it. He was already connected, because whatever was going on in that person's constellation that was heart related, he needed to work on some heart stuff. And that's why he was chosen to be the heart. And it just works that way. And it's beautiful when we debrief at the end, and we're just like, oh my God, like that, I understand now, like why that would be, and why I represent that. And so, yeah, it's super powerful work. It's its own modality in itself. It's many, like I said, it's many of the modalities that I do. But it's some of the stuff that has just really been profound in my life, and I love it. And
I love it too. That's
yeah,
why I want to organize a few to, get other people out and experience what it's like. And yeah, I think it's transformational. And
yeah. And another thing is like Darlene said, is we're always there to support and whatever, and it's not a judgment, right? I remember doing one, and one of the very first ones I did, and the woman was chosen to be somebody, and she said, well, I don't feel any different, I don't feel anything. And I was like, well, that's okay. Maybe that person doesn't feel anything. Right. And at the end, when we debriefed, the person said, that's my family member that just never wants to deal with anything. They have no emotions around anything. So I'm like, makes sense. So you don't feel anything, don't want to feel anything. So she was chosen for that reason. Right. Because she's maybe an avoider, right? Doesn't want to deal with any of the emotions or any of the feelings. So she was like, wow. And I'm like, it's not a criticism. It's just something that it's an awareness, so that you're like, oh, well, how can I change that about myself? Or do I want to change it about myself? Sometimes we don't want to change, and that's okay. You can be who you are. You can stay right exactly where you are. I just know that for me, I didn't want to stay where I was. I was very stuck, right, and very sad, and hurting, and I just didn't want to be there anymore, right. And this work has helped me to come out of that a lot.
I think it helps us see our blind side, like
Yeah.
it's anyway. um, so that being said, if you don't have a specific constellation that's being asked to play it out, then from my understanding, you kind of feel into the energy of the room and then feel what we're all kind of working on and create one from there.
Yeah, so that's, that's the part of my intuitive practice, right? Like whenever I always say I'm a feel seer. So I feel things wherever I go in people, in groups, it's hard to, sometimes be there, but it's just how I work. And so whenever I'm in a group, like Darlene said, when we did the ones about emotion, I said, oh, let's just see what the group has going on, right? Like, and so then I just sat and I just kind of track what's going on for everybody. And I was like, yeah, let's do emotions, right? And I didn't tell anybody what we were going to do. I just wrote it down and I picked the people that I was drawn to be our 5 emotions. And then when we debriefed as a group, like Darlene said, we're just like, wow, I'm like, we're all stuck in this. Our happy is like, was not happy. It was very like, we're really all down, and, and our emotions were all out of whack, right? For the whole entire group, like, I think we had, I don't know, 22 people or something in the group. And so it wasn't just like, oh, you have this going on, right? It's just like, we all had that going on, myself included, even as a facilitator, right? And it's okay. We look at it and we debriefed about, like, how can you bring that, when you bring that awareness that, your joy is, basically dragging its face on the ground, like, maybe we need to work on that. So how do you make
Worries
yourself
a
happy?
mountain.
Yeah, right. Like, how do you make yourself happy? What makes you happy? So it gives you an awareness. And so that is what, we say, we kind of, I do some body talk where we say we bring that from the subconscious, right? Like, because we don't even know that that's what we're feeling. We bring that from the subconscious to the conscious mind so that we can have an awareness of, like, what is going on with ourselves. So, and that's when we can start to make changes. You're like, yeah, like, God, how do I make myself happier? When am I happy? Like, how can I change that? What can I do to bring into my life? Do I need to spend more time with friends? Do I, need to start exercising? Like, what do I do that makes me happy? So obviously then you can make some changes. This journey is not always a fun journey or an easy journey. It's a journey, right?
True. True. Yeah. Especially when, emotional family issues, health issues, you're dealing with people's lives, and it is serious a lot of times and not so fun, but it's insightful for everybody. And everybody can shift, whether you are representing a body part or an emotion or a family member. Like you said, whatever reason it is, you've been chosen for that, and it will shift in your life as well as your perception. I think when we energetically do this on an energetic level, then it comes down into the physical level. I know from experiences that you've shared where somebody has been estranged from the family, and like the next couple of days they get a phone call out of the blue from that person. So that's how powerful it is. And we really wanted to share this so that you had a bigger feel of what this family constellation, healthy dynamics, is all about. And we have 2 locations that we're going to do in the shoe swap. One is at Guyamuna, which is up Silver Creek, and the other one is in Lake Country. And the dates of the Guyamuna is January the 7th, and the Lake Country is January the 9th, which will be an evening one, and the other one will be more of a daytime. I'll have all the details in the event or in the write-up here so that you can tap into that and see if it works for you and you feel called to come. My phone number, if you want to write it down, is 778-866-8477. And you can ask me more details about how to show up and come and what the prices are, and we'll get you set up because we only have limited space at this time, and maybe you want to host one yourself and we can work with that as well. Thank you, Claire, for your time.
Thank you.
And
Looking forward to seeing anybody who, is coming out, and please don't be scared. It's really actually, it's great work. And like I said, it just can be heavy a little bit, right? Because we're dealing with a lot of issues, but we feel so much lighter after, because like Yana was sharing, it can change so much. And that really changes the, the heaviness of it sometimes. It frees us, is what I feel.
Yeah, well, miracles a shift in perception. So once we kind of see things a little different, then wow, you know, anything can happen from there. So thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Thank you, Darlene.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, everyone.